What's going on, everybody? Today is the 23rd of October, 2021, and in this video, we're going to talk about a bizarre news story that made the headlines yesterday about a shooting from Thursday where actor Alec Baldwin accidentally discharged a gun, a prop firearm, striking and killing a director of photography, in addition to injuring the director of the film, Joel Souza. And in this video, we'll examine what I'm calling the Saturnian numerology that connects this incident to the 1993 death of actor Brandon Lee, who passed away while filming the movie The Crow, dying in a very similar fashion, where a prop gun was supposed to be used, ends up being fired and killing Lee on the set. Now, I was going to do this video last night. I decided to wait till today because today is, of course, Saturday, the day named after Saturn. And I fired the stream up at 9:30 since the ordinal gematria of Saturn is 93. And, of course, the most common criticism of gematria for people who don't really watch my videos is that there's too many numbers. You know, with all these ciphers, how do we know which one is relevant? But yet again, in this video, I'm going to show how every single number that you see on the screen is extremely relevant to this news story. And whether or not this is a hoax or some type of sacrifice, I'm not going to theorize on that. I'll let you guys look at the numbers and judge for yourself whether or not something greater is going on than what the news is reporting. And of course, the news does point out how this happened before, in 1993 with the son of Bruce Lee. Now, before we get into the Saturnian riddle that goes with this, I just want to point out some of the more logical connections between Alec Baldwin and Brandon Lee. And we start with the birthday of Alec Baldwin, which is April 3rd. And April 3rd was a significant date to the death of Brandon Lee because he was buried in a funeral that took place on the date April 3rd. So this means that Brandon Lee was buried on Alec Baldwin's 35th birthday. 35 is the reduction gematria of Brandon Lee's legendary father, Bruce Lee, who died back in the year 73. But this is also connected to the actor who shot Brandon Lee on set back in 93. That was actor Michael Massey. And notice how the name Massey also has gematria of 35. Now, the 35th prime number is 149. This ties into the ordinal gematria of the name Alexander Baldwin, 149 in the alphabetic order. Actor Michael Massey was born on the first of the month, just like Brandon Lee. They were born exactly 149 months apart. And measuring from the death of Brandon Lee to this Alec Baldwin shooting on the set of Rust, it's been 1,490 weeks. So already right off the bat, lots of bizarre connections. And on top of that, look at the date that actor Michael Massey passed away just 5 years ago, October 20th, which is just one day before the date of this year's shooting on set. So Massey died almost exactly 5 years ago to the day before the shooting, and the number 5 stands out in relation to Michael Massey, whose name sums to 50 in reduction, and of course in numerology, this represents the number 5. This shooting was in Albuquerque, which sums to 50 in reduction gematria. And measuring from Michael Massey's birthday to the date of this week's shooting, it was exactly 50 days. I just noticed, too, how Michael Massey equals 238, whereas Alexander Baldwin equals 283. Furthermore, Alec Baldwin shares reduction gematria 67 and 86 with Brandon Bruce Lee. And 67 and 86 are commonly numbers stamped on stories of death, both blood sacrifice and human sacrifice, summing to 67 and 86. Now, the 67 connects to Brandon Lee in another way. Consider how he died on the date March 31st, or 331. And 331 is the 67th prime number, again, connecting his Gematria, Brandon Bruce Lee, to Alec Baldwin. But next I want to touch on the number 93, as this is extremely significant to the story and will lead us into the Saturn part of this riddle. So again, Brandon Lee died in the year 93, and as we mentioned earlier, his funeral was on April 3rd, which was the 93rd day of 93. This week's shooting occurred at Bonanza Creek Ranch, which is a site where many films in Albuquerque are being shot these days. Notice how Bonanza Creek Ranch has this reduction value of 93. And again, Alec Baldwin also born on the 93rd day of the year. If you measure from Alec Baldwin's birthday to the birthday of Brandon Lee, you get a span of 9 months and 30 days. The Baldwin shooting occurred exactly 93 days after the anniversary of the death of Bruce Lee, Brandon's father. Notice how the phrase God's son equals 331 and 93, just like the date that Brandon Lee, the son of legendary Bruce Lee, passed away. But the planet Saturn has this ordinal gematria of 93. And we talked about how this number is significant over the last couple minutes. But next we move on to the number 21. Brandon Lee was born on the date February 1st, which is written 2/1. His father, Bruce Lee, died on July 20th of 1973, which was the 201st day of the year, which again in numerology is like 201 or 21. And this is the year 21. And notice how the shooting occurred 201 days after Alec Baldwin's birthday. And the name Alec, his nickname in the alphabetic order, also summing to 21. Next, we move on to Jewish or Latin gematria and see how Saturn sums to 511. If you look up the Crow's release date, you get a wide release date of May 11th, which seems to be confirmed by Rotten Tomatoes, even though this was a Wednesday. Some movies did get released on Wednesdays. Well, this shooting was a span of 5 months and 11 days after the date 5/11, the anniversary of the Crow's release. And think about how the inverse of 511 is 115, which is a number we commonly see in stories of killing. Killing has double gematria of 115 in reverse and Jewish. Baldwin's full name, Alexander Ray Baldwin or Alec Ray Baldwin III, both summing to 115, just like accidental discharge. Another 115. In the reverse alphabetic order, the planet Saturn sums to 69. And this brings us to the actor who shot Brandon Lee. And notice how his name, Michael Massey, using English extended gematria, gives us a value of 347, which is the 69th prime number. And 347, this is the Hebrew value of the word sacrifice. But Massey was born in the year 52, which means he would have just turned 69 years old about a month before this shooting. As far as the reverse reduction value of Saturn, which is 42, this brings us to the age of the woman who died. Helena Hutchins, said to be 42 years old. And her last name, Hutchins, even equals 42. And she died in the state of New Mexico, which gives us yet another 42. So I guess you could say this is extreme Saturn coding. But in order to get to the bottom of this riddle, as I commonly do, we have to look at the eclipse code. Now, we very commonly talk about the two great American total solar eclipses, which create an X over the United States. However, in between these two total eclipses, there's also an annular eclipse, which occurs in 2023. And the largest city that sits directly in the center of the line of annularity for this eclipse is Albuquerque, which is again where Halyna Hutchins was killed. This shooting is said to have occurred at 1:50 p.m. local time. And the number 150, or 15, stands out for a number of reasons. First of all, the film is called Rust, which sums to 15 in reduction. The name Alec Baldwin has Jewish gematria of 151005, but 150 is also the ordinal value of annular eclipse. Furthermore, 1:50 p.m., that's the 830th minute of the day, which represents the number 83. The word murder equals 83. And notice how Alec Baldwin's full name, Alexander Ray Baldwin or Alec Ray Baldwin III, both sum to 83 in reduction, just like accidental discharge occurring on the 830th minute of the day. This shooting fell exactly a span of 8 months and 3 weeks after Brandon Lee's birthday, and Brandon Lee, intriguingly, died a span of 8 weeks and 3 days after his own birthday. The woman who passed away in this shooting, her maiden name sums to 83 even. 83 also connected to solar eclipse in Hebrew. Now, 83 is another prime number. 83, the 23rd prime. See how Crow equals 23 in reduction. Again, this shooting connected to the Crow shooting from 93. When the story made headlines, Alec Baldwin was a span of 203 days after his birthday. And if you measure from the shooting to this solar eclipse over Albuquerque, you get 23 months and 23 days, which is also 723 days. The name Halyna Hutchins, the victim, her name matches annular solar eclipse 215. Her name matches solar eclipse in single reduction and reverse reduction. On top of that, her last name Hutchins equals 114, and the date of this eclipse is October 14th, written 1014. Now, the date of this eclipse is also coded into the director of this movie who was shot. This eclipse occurs in the year 2023, which in numerology is a lot like 223. And 223 is the Hebrew gematria of the moon. A lot of prime number connections today. 223, the 48th prime number. The Latin name for the moon is Luna, which equals 48. But on the date he was shot, Joel Souza was 48 years, 4 months, 8 days old. So a pair of 48s there. And shout out to the chat. I just want to put this screenshot from one of these videos that a subscriber put up. And he definitely nailed this riddle. It turns out that back in September of 2017, Alec Baldwin tweeted about wrongfully killing someone. And then, of course, now he's accidentally wrongfully killed someone. Now, that tweet was on September 22nd of 2017, which was exactly 4 years and 1 month before the shooting. Check out how Alec Baldwin equals 41. And to really cement this riddle, the gematria of his tweet is 213 in that same reduction cipher, and the tweet was also exactly 213 weeks before the shooting. So shout out for this great find on that tweet. Another thing worth pointing out is that the date was September 22nd, which can be written 22/9. And that's a prime number, the 50th prime number. We talked about this at the beginning of the video. 50 days after the birthday of Michael Massey, Albuquerque 50. And, okay, the 922, I will mention this also, because this isn't the only annular eclipse that Albuquerque has seen. In fact, in May 2012, we had this annular eclipse, and you'll see at the very end, the path of annularity, again, goes directly over Albuquerque. And measuring from that eclipse, which was May, was it 12th? May 20th, 2012. It's exactly 9 years and 22 weeks since that last annular eclipse, 922. So probably something to it. But to wrap this video up, I just want to touch on this sacrifice coding, as this is very relevant here. And we start with the name Brandon, which equals 121. Michael Massey was born on the date that leaves 121 days in the year. And the Alec Baldwin shooting was 1 month and 21 days after this man's birthday. And it was on the date 10/21, right? 121. The phrase blood sacrifice equals 121. The date can also be written 21/10, and this represents the number 211. 211 is the ordinal value of ritual human sacrifice. And notice how director Joel Souza, born 2 months, 11 days after Alec Baldwin's birthday, the name Alec Baldwin sums to 211 in the reverse order. This is another prime number, the 47th prime number. The name of the woman killed was Helena, which equals 47 in Jewish gematria. The film is called Rust, which equals 47. And New Mexico is the 47th state admitted to the Union. Also notice how Rust sums to 30 in both of these reversed methods. The planet Saturn has a single reduction value of 30. And one thing I failed to mention in the Saturnian breakdown, which I regret, but if you measure from Alec Baldwin's birthday to Brandon Lee's birthday, you get a span of 6 years, 9 months, and 30 days. And again, these are the same two numbers essentially found in the gematria of Saturn, 69 and 93. I did find more that connects this to the two total solar eclipses. I don't really know if it's worth mentioning. I think you guys get the drift, and how this is primarily a ritual connected to the Albuquerque eclipse and the film The Crow from 93. So, yeah, I think that'll do it for this video. Thanks to everybody for jumping in the live chat and throwing in the contributions. Always appreciated. Hope everyone enjoys your weekend. I should do one more video, if not later today, then tomorrow. I want to touch on this Sean Taylor tribute that happened in the NFL last week. One of the heaviest Masonic riddles I've seen in a long time. So we'll get to that. Oh, and as far as the 90, someone just mentioned the number 90 in the chat. Brandon Lee sums to 90. Brandon Lee died on the 90th day of the year. And if you add the ages of the two people shot, 42 and 48, you get a sum of 90. So I think that's more to it also. And yeah, how funny is it that the Let's Go Brandon chants have been all the rage and taking over the meme world, right? That's something like, I don't know, was that planned? Maybe. Maybe it was just really convenient with this Brandon Lee ritual coming up. But yeah, good observations, guys. So, all right, that'll do it. We'll talk to everybody soon. Peace, love, and God bless. See ya.